Hey guys, CD Stealth here, and we just got done finishing with the IK and setup. So, like I was saying, with the attributes, you can add them over here on the. Make sure they're on the controller because this is what the animator is going to be manipulating. Make sure all um, your translates and everything are frozen. I forgot to do that, but you need to make sure to do it before you add your connections. So, um, with with these attributes, you need to make sure you get your attributes done because this next part, what we're about to do is actually, I'm sorry, but it's the most confusing. Um, Not a lot of people really grasp this concept right away. So I'll try to explain it as best as I can, and feel free to ask any questions. But this is definitely more of the tech side rather than the actual visual and setting up these controls. So what I have here is I've shown all of my FK and bind bones, so they're all visible now. I can see all of my controllers, and I can move my controllers and make sure that they work. So if you remember the constraints, if you watched my constraint tutorial, you can always go and look at that. But we're going to be we need these weights, and the weights are going to be in the channel box, and we're going to influence them to make sure they blend between the two. So the very first thing I need to do is I need to create a controller, because if I don't create the controller, I can't even set up anything. So I'm going to go to create NURB surface, NURB primitives, and create a circle. So now I have a circle here, and I'm going to just go to component mode, F8, or this little box here. Select the CVs and go to my scale and just scale uniformly. Create this little controller, something simple. You can create yours to be whatever you want, but I just created a little flower thing. Now I'm going to rotate these and 90 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to put this in position. Now this is always going to be near the bind bones. This is because that's the animator is not going to see any bones, but the bones that will be manipulating what the animator sees will be the bind bones because they're bound to the mesh. So we need to make sure that this circle first is labeled correctly. FK underscore IK, and it always is written like that. I've never seen it the other way around. So FK underscore IK, and we need to parent this to the bind bones. So I'm just going to middle mouse and drag it to, I guess, the ankle. So now when the bind bones will move, the controller will move as well. Now I'm going to freeze all. So I just right clicked, went down to freeze and then all. So now there is nothing on there. Now this controller is never going to move. We don't want the animator to move it at all. So I'm going to select everything and right click and go to lock and hide selected. So everything is gone. Then I'm going to go to modify and add an attribute. I'm going to type fk underscore ik, and this is the name of the attribute. And I'm going to make sure it's a float because I do want decimals to be involved. And the minimum is going to be 0, and the maximum is going to be 1. 0 is going to be fk, and 1 is going to be ik. So I'm going to add that, and it shows up here. Now currently it's not going to do anything, but this is the part that gets confusing. We need to have the bind bones always be influenced by the FK and the IK. You can parent things, well, constrain things with more than one constraints. Whatever the last thing is selected is the one that will be constrained to both of them, and it will create a weight. Now this weight we're going to influence via the controller. So I have to select it in this order. I have to select FK, hold down Control, IK. So this is FK hip, IK hip, and then the bind. Now if you remember my constraint tutorial, we can do any of the constraints really, but for this case we're going to use the orient. So if you want to learn how the orient works, you can go check my other video out. So I'm going to go to the option box, make sure everything's selected. I'm just going to reset the settings. Okay, so everything's there. So I'll add it, and it created a constraint on my bind bones. Now I'm going to go to the FK knee, select the IK knee, and then select the bind knee, and orange constraint. I'm going to select the FK ankle, the IK ankle, and the bind ankle, orange constraint. Then I'm going to select the FK ball, the IK ball, and the bind ball, and then orange constraint. And then the FK toe, IK toe, bind toe, orange constraint. Now you always have to do it that way because the controller we've set is FK and IK. We want the FK to be 0, IK to be 1. So if you flip that, you would have to do all that in reverse. Besides the bind, you would flip this. You would do like IK and then FK and then bind. But I've never seen it done that way. So like I said, it's just better to just always do it this way, and you won't ever mess up. Doing that on your own is kind of always tripped me up. So now that that's done, we have these weights on right here. We have an FK and an IK weight. These are both of the two constraints that are being consolidated into one constraint. You'll know if you did it right if all the constraints are under the binds. So that's where they should be. All right, now we need to go to the hyper shade. Let's select this. Now, we're about to use this after we set up our controllers here. So I need to go to Window, General, Connection Editor, and reload left to make sure it's over here. And then I'm going to select the bind hip and reload right. And I'm going to scroll down. Nope, not the bone. It's the hip orient. Okay, there. Alright, so now I have to select this, the FK underscore IK, which is, the FK underscore IK, and that's on the left. Make sure this is going from arrow to 2, and then I select the IK hip weight 1. Now, I need to do this with each one of these constraints. So now I'm going to select the knee, reload right, knee weight 1. Ankle, reload right, ankle weight 1. Bind, ball, reload right, weight 1. And then the toe. So, just kind of repetition there. The confusing part. Selecting the FK-IK, and I'm going to select this little button here. It's called the Input-Output Connections, and I need to make this bigger. So let's just do this. Now I have this FK-IK controller here, and it'll be kind of hard to see. So if you need to make your screen bigger to read these, it would probably be beneficial. Now we need these to go back to the bones, but we need them to be in reverse. If you remember my constraints, I did like a tutorial in which everything will always equal 1. So if one weight is 0.4, the other weight's 0.6. So we need this to go back into this, but it has to be in reverse. It can't be it has to be the exact opposite. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a reverse node. So I'm just going to scroll down here. It's under General Utilities. If you don't see it, you can right-click the Maya nodes here and go to Create All Nodes, and it'll be listed. Click the reverse node. Okay, now that I have this node, I'm going to shift, middle mouse click the FK-IK control, drop it on the node here, and it's going to pull up my connection editor. Now I'm going to open up the input. So it's like it should be FK over here and FK-IK over here, and the reverse node over here. I'm going to select the FK-IK attribute down here and put it in the input X. Now I'm going to minimize that and select the reverse node, bring that back up, reload left, and then I'm going to select each one of these bones. Oh, each one of these orient constraints and reload right. So basically what it's doing is it's taking the number from the orient, so it goes in as 1, and then it puts it in through here, and when we bring it back over here, it's going to reverse whatever was inputted. So it's going to be like 1, and then it's going to go, okay, well, there's only a 0, so this has to go into 0. So for the reload left side of the reverse node, I'm going to select the output X, and then I'm going to select the FK hip weight 0, and I'm just going to do that for each one. Okay, now I'm out of time, so I'll continue this in the next tutorial, but definitely just keep doing that over and over again.